Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to my garden. It really feels like spring is in the air. I'm not sure, in the back of the audio you might occasionally hear the sound of birds, which for me always is the sound of spring, and it is beautiful. The sun is out, and what I want to do today together with you in my garden is I want to focus on pruning some hardwoods like shrubs or trees. And it is the perfect time of the year to do it right now. And I want to focus on hydrangeas because if you grow hydrangeas, it is vital that you know what kind of hydrangeas you grow in order to prune them correctly, because if you prune them wrong, you might not have any flowers, and that would be so sad on beautiful hydrangeas. I prune a little bit later. I am here in a zone 7B outside the city of Gdańsk at the south coast of the Baltic Sea, and winter really is a thing here. So in February we still had a lot of snow, we had really cold frosty temperatures during the night, and it's not a good idea to prune too early, because every cut that you make quintessentially is an open wound onto your hardwoods, and you might do more damage if you cut it too early and then frost comes into your tree. But now is perfect because we have milder temperatures. I checked the weather forecast. We might occasionally have like 0 or -1 degrees like for 1-2 hours during the night, but that is not going to do any harm. So it's really perfect to get in there and start pruning my hydrangea. So I hope that you are excited to join me in my garden today. When you're cutting back your hydrangeas, you really need to know what type of hydrangeas you are growing in your own garden. And hydrangeas, they are defined into two different groups. The first group is the bigger group, and the first variety that sits in it is Hydrangea macrophylla, one of the most common one, like the mop hat hydrangeas. You always recognize them quite easily because the flowers have a different color depending on your soil conditions in your garden. So I have neutral soil, and that always produces pink flower heads on macrophylla types. But if you happen to have an acidic kind of soil, then they will definitely produce true blue or purple kind of flowers, which are beautiful. If you have alkaline soil, that is not so good with hydrangeas, especially with the macrophylla ones, then you really might need to amend your soil a little bit in order to make them happy. Then in the same group, there are Hydrangea serrata, the lace cup ones, or these like disc-shaped flower heads. There is quercifolia, the oak leaf hydrangeas, which are really beautiful. I still try to find the perfect location for at least one in the garden, because they really have these big leaves that look a little bit like oak leaves, literally. But what makes them so special is the autumnal value, because those leaves, they change color in autumn for most of the varieties. Really interesting, like burgundy, crimson color, beautiful hydrangea as an addition to your own garden. The last two that sit in the first group are climbing hydrangeas, and I think they're called sergeant hydrangeas, like those hydrangeas that have these velvety leaves. All those hydrangeas, you need to understand how they produce their flowers and their growth for this year. So those hydrangeas, they produce the buds already in the previous year. And those little big swollen buds are already filled with all the information that they need for this year. Like the leaves are already in there, the flowers are already in there. And if you cut those back too hard, what happens is that you won't have any kind of blooms this year. You're not really in risk of losing your hydrangea, but most likely there won't be any bloom. So what you would do with all those hydrangeas that sit in the first group is you would just come in with your secateurs and really identify the stem, and then make a cut above a nice set of big and really nice strong buds or shoots that are appearing. Anything that looks like dry or kind of deadish should definitely go, or if you see that the buds are just too small and nothing good is really going to come out of them, you can also cut them back, but you will really have still some nice long stems left, so don't cut them back too hard. There is one exception in the group, and those are the endless summer varieties. They are, I think, I'm not a botanist, by the way, but I think that they are in the same family with macrophylla because also of the flower heads. But they will produce actually blooms also on new growth and new stems that the hydrangea produces in this year, which is really wonderful, because then you're not really in risk of losing any kind of blooms. But still, if you prune your endless summer, prune them really like a group 1 type of hydrangea. Then group 2, this is the smaller group, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of you have those hydrangeas in your garden. So the first one, what I have here is paniculata. So limelight is one of the most popular, I think, in my world at least. I think that they might be limelight, but I'm not really sure though. And then there's also arborescens like the smooth hydrangea or wild hydrangea. This is the common name. And they are pruned different because they produce their flowers on fresh growth that the hydrangeas do this year. So what you will do is you come in with your secateurs and you can really cut them back hard, like really to a set of 4 buds in total. So the buds are always like there's a stem and then there's a bud on each side and then there's a second bud above. So you would always make sure that you count like 1, 2, 3, 4 and then you make a cut on an angle just above that. So you always have at least 4 buds so that your hydrangea can produce at least some nice, vivid, strong stems. And what you would do throughout the year then is really see how those stems are developing. Anything that grows too flimsy, too small, you can still come in with your secateurs and cut it out and only leave those really big, sturdy, vigorous kind of growth because those are the stems that will produce really nice big flower heads. I prune my paniculata a little different because I don't want to have a few really big and impactful kind of flower heads. I would like to have more and smaller flower heads because the way and how my garden works, I have a lot of grasses, I have a lot of perennials and a more organic and natural feel here. So I kind of think when the hydrangeas, they produce those big flower heads, it's a little out of place for me here. So what I do is over the years, I built a little bit of a framework and then this is my average height where I keep it. So I roughly cut them back by half. Normally you can cut them back by 2/3, so 1/3 is definitely still on a plant. So what you would do is there is one really nice strong shoot here and this strong shoot is definitely going to produce really nice side branches this year. So here I would just count 1, 2, 3, 4 and then make a cut on an angle. Generally, whatever you are pruning in your garden, there are certain rules that you might want to follow. So this time of the year is perfect to really inspect your shrubs and make sure that any kind of dead wood is cut out of the shrub because it's no good, it's dead, nothing is going to come out of it. And if you're not sure on how to identify what is fresh and what is dead, there are a couple of rules that you can follow. The easiest one is just with your thumb, very gently, you will rub on the bark. And if underneath that is still nice and fresh and green, then you know that this is definitely fresh and good growth. If you bend it and it doesn't snap, then you also know that it's still fresh. So if you rub with your thumb and it's brown, it kind of looks brittle, you know, oh, this is not good. And then if you bend it and it snaps, you are 100% sure that this is dead and you can cut it out completely. If you build a framework such as I have, and many shrubs do have a framework, you also want to make sure that any kind of flimsy stems are cut out completely because they're no good. Like anything that is too small, too flimsy is just taking energy, but it's not going to produce most likely any nice flowers. So that can go completely and entirely. So just snip it out. And you want to make sure that no branches are crisscrossing. You want to have a nice open framework. So any branches that are rubbing on another, you really want to take them out because if they're rubbing, that might allow disease to come into your plant. And whenever you make a cut, I always go with a rule of like, make your cut on an angle because if you cut on an angle, that means after a rain shower, a single drop of rain is not able to sit idle on top of your cutting point, which is in effect a wound on your plant in that moment, so that the rain and the water can just rinse off and that does not allow any kind of disease to come easily into that fresh cut. So all that I'm going to do now is really work my way through here, cut these, and then I show you what different kind of hydrangea I grow down by the slope, but they're still so young and fresh that I don't really need to cut anything there, but I still want to show them to you. Look who's with us in the garden today, Alfie. She always finds her walnuts, so now she's playing more with walnuts than with sticks. So in a moment, I'm going to take care of her. But before, I just quickly want to show you how the hydrangeas are looking, at least how I cut back my hydrangea paniculata. So it really is an open framework. And here is a very good example to see the difference to how I cut them or how you might want to cut them according to textbook. So important thing is here, the cut is on an angle, and then all of this here is an entire new shoot from last year. So in theory, you could just really count the buds. So 1, 2, and then make a cut here. And you can tell that I left quite a lot more. So more buds, more buds. So I'm gonna have more side shoots eventually. But the thing is that I like to do it like this really because I want to have more flowers and smaller flowers and not those big ones. But look quickly here, snowdrops. Oh, beautiful. Aren't they just really happy plants? I love them. But now I'm quickly gonna take you with me down to the slope and show you a different kind of hydrangea. I'm down at the slope with you in my entire brand new area, so it's a lot of work in progress still, but I think I'm making good progress here. So sometimes when I don't really make a video of what I'm doing, this is what I do here. Digging my way through some dirt, so you can see on the left there's still some tools standing next to the dead head. So really work my way through, removed some of those pesky perennial weeds that are growing here, level soil out and just prepare for planting. The daylilies that I planted together with you last autumn. They made it through winter. They look fantastic, but what I want to focus on are these here. So these are 3 hydrangeas that I planted last autumn. They are lace cup hydrangeas. Really beautiful. They haven't really produced a lot of blooms last year, but they had an amazing autumnal foliage. And what you can see, I hope you can, yes. Can you see all these like red, kind of like glowing in the sun buds here? Those are the new stems. This is where new leaves and new flowers will be produced for this year. So all you want to do is come in with your secateurs and just snip back at the top. I'm not going to do it now because I already did it. So that there are still a nice set of fresh buds here and really keep a nice open framework. What I can do though is there are some flimsy stems in here like this one here. So I could come in and make a decision if I want to cut it back, yes or no. That's the only thing that I might still consider, but rather than this, that's all I need to do. So I think you can see it is rather simple and fast to prune the hydrangeas in your garden. Not really related to the topic of the video, but I always love to show you something beautiful at the end of the video, and this is definitely something beautiful because the hellebores that I grew in my pots last year, they come to bloom, and aren't those just happy blooms? Lovely flowers, can't wait for them to open. The flower stems are pretty long last year and there are plenty of them. Lovely, lovely. Even the foliage looks fantastic. I don't suffer from any kind of like foliage disease on my hellebores. So I think I really need to buy some more this year. Well, I think I really have to buy some more this year. Aren't they just glorious? And now in the spring sun, make me so happy. Beautiful. You guys, that's it for today's video. I hope it was interesting for you and maybe a little reminder to go out there and start pruning your hardwoods in the garden, at least those that do require pruning, and definitely that you know how to prune your hydrangeas correct. So all I can say now is thank you so much for watching today's video. Thank you for giving me a thumbs up. Thank you if you decide to subscribe to my channel, and I can already tell you that more videos are on the way because I ordered some plants and those plants certainly need to find their way into the soil. So I'm really happy to share a little planting video with you soon. So take care and love to welcome you next time around in my garden. Bye.